In this video tutorial I'm gonna show about simple state management in Flutter, and it's not about just set stating and some kind of thing that exists in Flutter, but I will tell a little bit about ChangeNotifier, ValueNotifier, value listenable builder, listenable builder, and some kind of things that related to those ones. And I will tell about, I will not just create a specific change notifier in order to show you how it works, but I will go deep inside in every class, and I will try to say how they work under the hood and what the specific widget with the specific class of the Flutter they do inside Flutter. And I will try to create some state management in Flutter, which is very useful for simple apps, not for enterprises, and for specific applications that are very small and they should work somehow. They will not scale, like they will not be, not scalable application that should be scaled in the future, but some kind of applications that are very similar, which are very simple. Excuse me. And there is where let's start run our application, and let's start the application and see how it works. As you see that in a first Flutter creation, when you create your project for the first time, it creates some kind of things like this one. But we will not need this. We will create our own thing, and we will handle that by our own. And for example, let's do like run app, and let's create our first app with change notifiers, with simple state management. But I just want to mention that whoever just knows about Flutter very well, and those who don't know about Flutter and how it works overall, not under the hood, first of all, go just create a Flutter application that works with set state, some state management with set state, and just rebuilding your widget, your element with set state, and learn about them, and then you can come back and see how it works, because I will go deeply inside with some kind of concepts maybe will not be clear for you, and that is why first of all just go and see. I have some kind of videos in my channel excuse me, and they are I talk there about elements, about build contents as set state, how they work under the hood, and just take a look there and come back to this video tutorial. And let's create our home widget. Let's add this home widget here and take a look how it works under the hood. Okay. because why I'm creating the project from the, like, it's a draft template, it's just clear everywhere, you may ask, because when I started to learn Flutter, there were a lot of videos those videos started with some kind of draft of some kind of widgets, some Flutter drafts that already has been written. That is why I'm creating from the like without any draft here, because it should be clear for you, and you can write the code, like looking to my code or whatever I'm doing, and without any errors or maybe some not. Everything should be clear for you. That is what I'm doing from the beginning. And let's first of all create. I'm gonna show you for the first time. Let's tell about value change notifier and what it does, how it works under the hood. Value notifier. Let me briefly tell about this one. What is this? Value notifier is something that holds inside itself a value that should be changed in the future, or maybe some kind of things that you have to change only one thing. And that is why we can create here a file, but let's create that one first of all here, but then after some explanation, some duration, I will put that file, put this that class inside another file. Let's create here. You can write final class or maybe just a class. It doesn't matter. Class. Let's create simple value notifier, which extends value notifier, and it's doesn't matter. Just let's for the first time put the integer. It will be the counter, and it says that you have to put the value inside my constructor. Let's take a look. This construct takes a value which is generic one, and you can create here. We will come back here, not right now. And it says that you can put the initial value here. That is why if we create this simple value notifier inside our stateful widget, we have to initiate that one with the initial value. Set the first value, set the initial value here. You can put even you can put the whatever you want, like 10 maybe, like 100, doesn't matter. And that is why we have a class simple value notifier that will be our state management. And that is why in order to decrement the 10 value 10, we have to write code inside here. That is why in order to show you, let's go inside body column. It will take a child, and inside the column we will write text button. The child is the text with simple value notifier dot value. What is value? Value is our this one, the initial value that we created, and we will change this initial value. That is, this value is this 10. Let's go inside here, and you will see that it has a property. The name is value inside, deep inside, and yeah, it has just the value. Just don't take a look here now. I will explain it later what it does. Just restart our application. You will see that there is a 10, and when we want to tap on the top of this 10, our value should be incremented, and that is why let's go create our logic here, and there should be increment and the decrement, and value plus plus and value minus. It means that we are adding some value here. And the main reason that in order to notify all the listeners, all the people that listening to this value, we have to put notify listeners, which will help us to change our UI in the future. For example, I will tell a little bit about this one, how it works in the future, but just for the understanding how it works, just put the notify listeners. But it will not be necessary in the future. I will explain you why. It's not necessary to put notify lists, especially here, especially inside ValueNotifier. Okay, let's go. We will call our simple ValueNotifier dot increment. But what happens? We will see. We are adding our 10, but the UI is not changing. The widget is not changing. You may ask why. Because of that, if I save the code, or maybe you can click here, save code here, you will notice that it changed. Like when I tap on top of this one, it should be changed, but UI is not changing. But actually, it's changing. It's changing under the hood. Let's do this one, 25. You see, but in order to listen whether the value of this thing is changing, you have to create something, some widget that change this one. That is why you can create. There's a lot of I would say examples of creating something that changes, but especially the simple one in order to listen whether this is changing, you can create a lot of things, but especially you can create here something like this one in order to change especially this widget without any builder, anything. That is why you can do what? You can create something like listener. You can create listener, set here, and just set state the widget. What is this one? I had a video that I explained how set state work. Set state just marks the widget, this element, as dirty, and says to the build owner, and it's just a class. The name of the class is build owner, and what does the build owner do? It rebuilds the specific element at the next frame. When the specific next frame comes, it rebuilds this one. And you may ask me, what is build owner? Build owner, one of the classes that inside widget binding, if I'm not doing any mistake, let's create. Just let me explain what is the build owner. You have if you notice that every developer, when developing any application, they will notice that they have to create a widget binding, Flutter binding, and initialize. And what is this? Initialize, it initializing everything inside this Flutter application, like screen, something like with the let's go inside actually. Like gesture binding, schedule binding, service binding, painting, widgets binding. There's another one, test, but for the tests. Overall, there are 8 bindings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. There should be. There's 7 bindings, but actually there should be 8. The 8th one is for testing, and that is why it helps you for the widget, for everything, for the application, in order to initialize like platform channels, everything that relates to the application, like gestures, everything you do in the application, it should initialize that. But there is something that does a special thing for all of this one. There is a flash binding, Flutter binding, and gesture binding, scalar binding, and some kind of things. But there is some class that calls widget binding that does all of these things inside here, like only interface for those all. If we go inside, we will see that there is a build owner. What build owner do? What does the build owner do? It has something that in the future, when you mark your widget as dirty, this build owner goes inside every this widget's dirty and rebuild that widgets, that elements. There was some kind of method that if I'm not doing mistake, that it called something like a schedule build, or maybe something like that. Oh, this one. There is one. I'm talking about this one, build owner. You see, this build owner. If the widget is dirty, if marked dirty, is dirty, in the future, in the next frame, it rebuilds a specific element once again. This one, but not hold the element. For example, if the column has element, or text button, or this text has element, it will not be changed. Hold the widgets here, like element of these widgets. It says which element is dirty. It will rebuild that specific thing once again. And just take a look where is canonical instance in the canonical instances about this one, and the literals. What is this one? Just take a look about literals, canonical instance, and also immutables in Flutter, or maybe Dart. Just take a look. What is this one? I will not tell about this one more specifically. Okay, let's go. Simple value notifier, and we will do this one. Simple value notifier. Add listener. We'll add this listener. I will tell you about this add listener and something, also some sort of this, what it does under the hood. I will tell you about this one, but just let's not stuck on it. Let's talk about this one. Or it okay. I'll add it. I added this one, and what it does, for example, add listener. When something notify listener, when it works, it notifies all listeners. This one listeners, all these functions that listeners. But there is some list of callbacks. I will show you later. All of them call this one, this listener. Set state, which set state marks the widget, the element is dirty. In the future, the next frame, that this element will be built once again. Let's take a look. But the thing that I'm doing, this one, is not a good idea to do. I'm just explaining you how it works under the, like how it works, how you have, how many possible ways you have to create specific thing. That is why this is not a good idea to do. That is why we will remove this one. Remove this one and just tell, let's do it once again. Okay, there is some widgets that calls listenable builder. What it takes, what does it take? It takes listenable, which is our listenable is our simple value notifier. Simple value notifier, and let's add this one here, and a builder. In a builder we can put context. I will explain you about this context later, about context and child. I will explain you how it works under the hood, but not right now. Everything has its own time. Let's go text and put our simple notifier value to string. Let's rebuild our app. Do you know what? We have to put this one inside here. It would be great. Okay, let's tap, and you see that it's changing. And listenable builder is working exactly same as our function, that listener that we had previously. Exactly same, not complicated thing. Exactly same as previous one, like set state, but I will show you later. It works exactly same like listenable builder under the hood. But the main thing is that it's not making the whole this element as dirty, but especially this one. Not this one, but something that inside this listenable builder marking itself like dirty inside. I will show you later, but let's talk about, first of all, you see that it's changing. And let's go, and I will show you about how the value notifier works, about what it's implementing, extending, and some kind of thing. Okay, first of all, let's go. I will create some class that we will call simple value notifier, and we will put our this class inside simple value notifier in order to not combine all of logic inside UI, inside widgets. It's working fine. Let's check it out once again. And as we separated logic and UI, let's go inside value notifier, and we will see that value notifier, which takes only one value, which is here. It's a generic one. Generic means that the value of t type doesn't matter what it is. In the future, it will come with a specific value, like integer value, list, maybe maps, or maybe strings, double. Doesn't matter what kind of type is that. It will come, and we can notice that we have a value here, which was overridden from value listenable. Just not stuck on it, but I will not go here right now. Explain me what is this. As I said you previously, when we are doing something like this one, value plus plus, it's calling this one, setting value, our new value, and it checks that whether previous value is not equal to the new one. It's returning, and it's not equal. If it's equal, it's returning the code. If it's not equal, it's putting the new value to the value and calling the notify listeners. And as I said to you previously, you can just don't put notify listeners here, and your code will work perfectly without any. Just you see that it notifies listeners, and it's notifying all listeners, all like listeners, like listenable builder, or notifying all listenables. Like for example, if I said add listener, notifying this listener with this callback, something like callback, that inside here it notifies here, like calling the void callback, and notifying this one. I will tell you how it works under the hood, but not that. Just calling the, that is why it's working here. Now let's go inside here. As I said, you can comment here, and it's not necessary. It's the code that's not necessary. Just remove them all, and it will work very perfectly. Okay, let's go inside, and we will see that, as I said, when we changing our value, it's putting the new value of our value, setting it with new value, and notify listener itself without our calling our notify listeners. But let's go inside value listenable. Value listenable is just an abstract class that has a value which is extended listenable. Okay. Why am I showing you this listenable? Why it's necessary? Because all these widgets, first of all these widgets that listen something, they are listening this one. They are listening listenables. You see that I went inside listenable builder. Let's go inside listenable builder, and you can see that it's listening listenable as our previous as I showed you. Then that value. It's extended animation widget. It's listenable. Just take a look at the value that we are listening to is just a listenable. That is why listenable is necessary here. But what is listenable inside? It's just it's just the interface. It's just abstract class that has abstract methods. It's just like exactly the same interface, and it has void like add listener, remove listener, which is not implemented. The logic for this one, which is now implemented. It said that I am just a listenable, and I have two functions. And whoever extends me, they have to extend, like implement my functions here. That is why if I go inside ValueNotifier, you can see that there is no any add listener or remove listeners. All of this job should be done, but it's with someone else. And who is this person? It's ChangeNotifier. ChangeNotifier also implements the listenable, the interface. This ChangeNotifier has function that calls add listener. You see that this add listener is coming from listenable one. It's coming from listenable. The implementation of this interface is inside ChangeNotifier. You can see that it's ChangeNotifier, and it does some logic inside here, search some kind of things. I will explain you later what is this one. And let's go inside. That is why the reason of why ValueNotifier is not throwing any exception, any error, because of this ChangeNotifier, because ChangeNotifier has something inside. That is why. That is why, in order to show you, let's create our own change ValueNotifier. Let's create change class own ValueNotifier. That let's it's better to create a value our own ValueNotifier, our own ValueNotifier. Yes, own ValueNotifier, which is the type of T. Yes, type of T, and it should be extend the listenable. You can do something like this one, but the main reason of this why you can't do this one, we have a value, we have something that should be changed inside here. That is why if you go inside here, there is a value listenable. We have to implement this one, not this one extend, because it has something like this one T value. I can create a value, our own value listenable, but we don't have to create because it's already exists. That is why we don't have to create our own. That's better. Value listenable, which extends the listenable. Let's go create this one, which is T1, but it throws error. You will say why? Because it says that you have to create value. This value is very necessary for us, this one, but this two is not necessary because we don't have to create our own logic to listen the values that changes, you know. That is why in order to remove this one, we have somebody which is already done, which that person already has a function inside that has an implementation of this one. That is why we will remove this one and we will say with ChangeNotifier you can do, which is implements value listenable, or you can extend this one. There's no any errors should be there. That is why it's better, I guess, it be using with VS, because I will not go against Flutter's team that extended ChangeNotifier. I will do with because ChangeNotifier is a mixing class. That is why. Okay, we have a value, we have to set something in this value. That is why we will create a T value which will come through the constructor. We'll put here and have create constructor for this one, this value. That's all. But as we created our own ValueNotifier, let's go and put here our own ValueNotifier inside here, and there should not be any errors, but something that should be changed here. Okay, let's go inside the ValueNotifier and say that you know what, I did something wrong. It's better to not do this one, but say that this our own ValueNotifier should be here. Let's put this one below this because didn't copy this, and say that our own ValueNotifier should be here. But this throwing error because it's saying that there's no any setters that should be changed. That is why we will create a setter for value with the new value, and just we will put the value inside new value, inside the new value inside value. And that is why you can create notify listeners here, or you can create notify listeners inside here. It's better to call here because why? You have to call whenever something changes inside every method. That is why it's better to check here something. Yes, you have to check that whether the previous value is not equal to the current one. If it's equal, we will return the value. We will set the new value and notify listeners. And just check, we created our own, just some kind of notifier that helps our simple value notifier in order to change. But the main thing is that you can create your own. You don't have to create. You don't have to create this one. It's not necessary. I'm just showing that there is something that you can create by your own. That is why you can just simply set here, simply put it here without creating your own value notifier. But if you want to create your own in order to understand how it works, just create new one and put here. It should work exactly the same as previous. You see? And let's go further, and I will explain. I have to explain. I just want to explain you how it works, how the listenable works, listenable builder works, how there are the builder that listen the listenable, how they work under the hood. And there is what? There is a listenable builder. Let's go inside here. And listenable builder is just extends the animated widget that does exactly saying what the animated widget does. There is a lot of code. You can see there is listenable builder, just a transition builder, widget, some kind sort of this one. And let's go inside animated widget, and we will see that our animated widget takes listenable. I just want to say that it takes something with our simple value notifier. If we go deep inside, you can see that it's listenable. Where is transition? It's listenable. That is why you have an animated widget that has a listenable. It has to listen the listenable, and this animated widget has a state. As you remember, I showed you that you can create with the listener one in a home widget. If you remember, you can do something like this one. Simple add listener here. You can create it here, and you can create void listener listen, and exactly something like this one. You can create something like this one. But this logic that I'm doing here, it was already done. It was already done here. It was done here, for example, in handle change, widget listenable, add listener, handle change. For example, you see that we have a widget here, and it has a state inside. State of this widget. What it in its state, it registers something, registers the listener, and handle the change. It handles the change. And every time when the listener changes, it sets states, like marks the element as dirty, and says to the to the build owner, that you have to change this one. It exactly works same as I said previous one, as I did. That is why you can create your own widget that changes your thing. That is why we will not create this one. We will just go further, and I will show you that there is a listenable builder, simple, like this one. Let's create this one. Well, there is a listenable builder. There is a also you can create the animated builder. I will show you right now why you can use all of them. It works exactly same as listenable builder. Let's take a look. When you click on this one, all of them will change. But look, when you go inside listenable builder, as I said, it's just animated widget that does that has a listenable. It has a listener. It adds the listener, the void callback inside the list, and whenever something changes, it set states the widget, set states here, set state is in this widget, this builder, and says to the void callback. It says to the build owner that something changed. You have to build this one in the next frame. Rebuild this one. This one is doing the exactly same thing. Let's go inside here. This animated builder was built on top of here, and you may ask why there is a two exactly same thing, doing the same thing, exactly same thing. I will say you that, for example, you have animations, yeah, for animation controller, you have animation, but in order to use them, you can use this listenable builder too. But the Flutter team created something that exactly refers to animations in order to just to explain our programmers that you can create something that only was intended for animations. That is why it works exactly the same. That is why if I go inside animated builder, we can see that it was built on top of a listenable builder. What is listenable builder? It's our here, this one. If you go inside, you can see that just some kind of name for those properties just change it. If take a look, listenable builders takes a listenable, which is just a listenable. It calls listenable. But animated builder, it calls animation. They're the same thing, but just in order to change the name of the listenable, they created the new animated builder. It works exactly the same as previous one. Take a look. Listenable animation. It takes builder, puts the listenable inside animation. There is two things. It says that overridden getter to replace with documentation tailor to a listenable builder. And this one is a transition builder. I will explain you what is this one later. And look, you can create the same thing. And if you go inside here, you can see that a listenable builder, there's a lot of widgets that extend animated widget. You can use them all, but they have a lot of some another properties that is not necessary to use them all. You see, there is a lot of decorated box transition, align transition, listenable builder, which is our own thing, the slide transition. But animated widget is only one because it's only extends our listenable builder, which is extended animated widget. Animated widget has a logic inside. Animated widget is from here until here. Widget, just abstraction that you can create something. It's a build method which was not called here, and it has listenable in its state, listens our something, which is something. If something changes, it rebuilds the element. Okay, but let me show you another thing, another listenable builder, which was intended only for value listenables. This one only for value listenable things that has only one thing to change. Let me show. You can create value listenable builder. Simple value notifier context. Let's take a look at what it takes. Takes context widget. Okay, trial. Return. Exactly the same thing. This. It takes, I guess, build context, integer, and widget. So it value our changing value. We can put here instead of this one, and that's all. All of them changing. Listenable builder, animated builder, value listenable builder. But the main reason of value listenable is it was intended only for simple value notifier, not for other listenables. Like we have also ChangeNotifier, which is listenable too. We have value listenable, which is also listenable. And that is why it was intended only for value listenable builder. But the main thing is that maybe you don't want to create this one. You want to create your own builder that listens to your listenable or listenable value listenable, and it changes your widget. That is why let's go create our own value listenable with something that listens our listenable. Own value listenable builder. Okay, let's create. First of all, you can as you can go if you go inside. Excuse me. If you go inside animated builder, listenable builder, like animated widget, you can notice that there is a listenable. There is just a simple stateful widget that does something, and then we can create our own thing depending on this one. Okay, our own listenable builder, stateful widget, own listenable builder, scaffold. Just it's not scaffold, but I will change this one. Okay, let's create our properties. Final, we will take our listenable. Doesn't matter what, just listenable, and let's add this one. This listenable. Okay. In a state, we can create init state, and we can say that whenever this listenable changes, you have to rebuild this stateful widget, this element. There is one listener. As I showed you previous, how you can do this one. I mentioned this one. You can do exactly the same thing. That is why you can call the listenable and add listener, just your listener. And in a dispose one, when this element is not available anymore, we have to somehow remove this listener, because we don't want to listen to this one anymore. That is why you can do like widget listenable and remove listener. Okay, and inside the listener, this widget, when the Flutter adds this widget, this element inside element tree, it calls an element tree. When it disposes from the element tree, whether it means that this widget is not exist in the element tree anymore, in a widget tree anymore. And when we do set state here, it means that this element will throw error, because you are setting something, some element which is not here, which is not in elementary anymore. That is why we have to check this one, whether our element, like widget, still exists. If it's not exists, we will return. That's all. Okay, that is why. Let's go put this one. I will show you this one step by step, in order to understand you, whatever I am doing should be clear for you. Okay, on value listenable builder. Okay, we will call this one, but it takes only simple value. There is no any our widget that should be built there. That is why we will go inside our own listenable builder, and we will say that we have a widget. Okay, we have a widget child, or maybe let's let's put it child, and then we have a child. Okay, shall I put this child here? Widget.child. Okay, and we have an error here. We have an error, and it says that put the child. We will put this child. Look, we'll put this child simple value. It should, and you think that it should work, but it will not work, because look, there is a 15. The 3 widget is 15, and the last one is 10, still 10. But if I save the code, it will change 22. You may ask why? Because when we created this child is from this element, I would say, from this, from not this element, from this, but it was created only once. It doesn't have any permission to change itself, because it's just a child. It was created once, and that's all. If it created once, it will not be changed. That is why I said you to read about canonical instances, that the same widget is coming, the Flutter will not rebuild this one. That is why, in order to rebuild this one, you have to something that will be called every time. That is why, what do you have? You can do something like function, like void function, or maybe some function that returns widget all the time when the state changes. Okay, widget, that's all. Okay, that's all, and it's just a function. We will do our function, we call our function. Okay, let me show how it works. Just a function that takes in the text, and it should work. Okay, you will see that that's fine, it's working, but it's not fine. You may ask why it's not fine. Because the text that you are rebuilding, it was created here, not here. It's just it's exactly like you created a function that returns something without any build context. You see, for example, exactly same like this one. You don't have any context here. This is not child of this one. It's the child of here, or just a function that was not added to the element tree. That is why the main thing that I'm doing this one is I show you that text button, or maybe that doesn't be text button. I show you why it's not good to do this one. Let me show. Look, you have a print, you have a context. Yeah, you have a context. If it has a size, okay, it has a size. If I save this one and call this one, yes. If I call this one, if you know what to do, it's better. Let's copy this one. Let's copy and put it here. Okay, let's comment this one in order to be sure that we're working like the same thing. We're working with the same thing. This one, our own listenable builder. If I tap on this one, it's working fine. But why the context, the text buttons that we are creating, size is our screen size, not the button size. It should be the button size. Do you understand? The text button, the size, the height that button has, it should be exact same, but the size of our context is 393 and 852. It's too much. It's height from our screen and the width of our screen. If I remove this one and print just the media query of context size, okay, you will see that it's our own screen size, but it's not good. That is why, in order to make this text button the child, the elementary, like in order to add this text button in elementary, we have to create a new context, which is creating here, and pass this context above, pass this context above where our this text button has here. This text button, just take a look. Just remember that this text button is adding here inside our elementary, but it doesn't have any access to the context of here. We don't have access. We don't have access to this build context, which is the child, which is the element inside the elementary. We don't have access to this one. Then that is why, in order to have access to this one, we have to add build context, and pass this context above, like in order to have access here. You see, this context that you are seeing, it's not coming from here. It's coming from here. It should come from here. That is why. Just add our context here, and that's all. And you will see that when we do like print context size, you will see that the size is 64 by 48, the same size of this text button. That is why, remember that you have to create something that should be added inside the elementary, and this context is not from this context. The previous one, when we didn't have a context here, it was like this one. We were working with context of here. That is why this context is not from here. This context is coming from here when the widget, when the build method, when the mount inside. If you watch the previous my previous videos, I told there that I talked about how the build method works. It's something like goes inside. There is in the Flutter framework, deep inside, under the hood. It calls the mount method, after mount method, when it registers itself in the elementary. This build context is element, and this element comes. This element registers itself in the elementary, and in the end, the build method of yours calls in the end, and will be set. The context will be set inside here. And that is why, in order to have this access to this elementary, like the last element, the last widget that exists in elementary, we have to get this one and pass this one above. Not above, it's working exactly the same, just I would say that this widget that we are creating here, it will be created here. Instead of creating like this one, let me show. Instead of creating like this one, you could create this, like something like this one. This context is coming from there. This context is taking this context. Okay, let's firstly fix this code. The type def own value, our own value builder. Own value builder. Let's call this one and put our this property here. It's now working. Something's now working properly, I guess. That's all. Own value builder, and call it builder, just a builder, not a child. And call this builder something like this one. Just call, we changed the name and made code better. And you see that it's working fine. Great. And it's working great. And the size is the size of this text button, and it's working very good. Let me see. What can I tell you about? What else can I tell you? Okay, let me explain why when you calling this add listener, for example, this add listener, why for example, let's go inside this value listenable builder. Let me show you. Value listenable builder also works as our stateful widget that we had it, and also it also adds to our this listener, that's value changed inside its own listeners. But as I said, this add listener is has implementation. That implementation is inside ChangeNotifier. Okay, this ChangeNotifier has a list of callbacks, has a list of functions, I would say. Let's take a look. You see, there is a list of callbacks. What is the void callback? Let's go. It's a type def, just a function. Doesn't matter, just anything that does something like this one. It's just a function. Okay. Okay. So our, what am I doing? Our as I said, add listener is our ChangeNotifier, and when we call add listener, let's go to find this one, add listener, and it has some kind of statements to check. At least a ChangeNotifier. Add listeners is inside ChangeNotifier. Some kind of statements that checks, asserts, and some kind of things. But when we add like our own listenable, like listeners, in order to set state the widget, when we add our own listener, this add listener, there is just the interface that doesn't have implementation. When I click on top of this one, it goes right inside listenable because it's listenable. But implementation of this one was done by ChangeNotifier. What the ChangeNotifier, what it does? What does it do? It has a listeners of it has a list of callbacks that we are adding our callback inside add listener, and when we go inside add listener to call, like when we want to add our own void listener, as I showed you that it's just a function, it adds our function. It adds our function, like this is our function, inside the list of callbacks. And the main better thing is that when you called your function, especially this one, because we are adding this listener, this is listener our function. This function was added inside inside this, And the main thing is that when we go inside, when we go here, set state, we are calling the notify listeners. Yes? Let me show you. Okay, let me show. When I remove this one and change the, what it calls, rebuild the widget, you may see that nothing is changing. Why? Why? Let's just pull this, it's changed. You may say that why it's not changing. This, why this is not changing. Should change. Okay, why you may ask that why it's not changing. When I clicking here, it's not changing, but when I set state, it's changing. The main reason of it's not changing because the notify listeners, when we go inside notify is listeners is from ChangeNotifier. From here, you can see that notify listeners is from ChangeNotifier and has a chance some kind of statements that checks. And if we go down, you can see that there is a for loop that goes inside every list of void callbacks and call them all. You see, there's a list. There is a loop goes that loop goes inside every listeners and call them every of them. Call every of them. And there is why. When I'm adding this one, it's looping every listener that I'm adding inside. Every function that I'm adding inside there, it calls them. Even if I don't put this set state here, it will not work because this listener that I have, this function that I'm adding inside add listener, it's working here, like maybe 20 listeners there, 20 functions that were added inside add listener. If I removed the set state, it will not work here. The below, the things that below is now working because it's our own widget. You see, we created our own listenable builder. It's changing. It's from Flutter framework, but this one is created by our own code. It's our own code. When I doing like clicking on, the 10 is not working because this widget, this element is not rebuilding. But when I put the set state, it's working very fine. That is what I'm telling you about. Okay. But let me tell you about something else. And you can see that value listenable builder and other Flutter frameworks, they have a child they have a child property. Why? Because this child method of the listenable builder, animated builder, it has a child also. And also you can see that there is a child here. This child that you're creating here, like here, everywhere that you create a child, this child will be added here. It's nullable, and if you're not added child, don't do like something like this one. Okay? Something like this one, because it's not nullable. It's nullable, and in order to check statements whether it will not be changed in the future, just do this one. Okay, this child that you're creating will be called. Let me show you how it works. For example, you have a column inside the listenable builder that you have, and you want to call a child here, just something like this one. But remember that you have to create a child, that you put it, for example, here, or you can check the child is not null. Okay, do something like this one. It's better. And you can create a child, put a text, and do something like it's changing. Okay. Okay, let's remove this alls. Let's remove here and here too. Okay, when I clicking on top of, it's not changing. It was better to add this one on inside it here. Okay, let's do this one here. Excuse me that I'm doing something wrong, that I'm showing you. Not wrong, I didn't show you in time. Okay, when I clicking on top of here, it's changing because of that it's inside the listenable, but especially this child will not be changed. For example, you have something that just information about something that should not be changed in the future. You can create a lot of things here, like column. There is a lot of children. Yes, it is the main reason of calling just doing this child is you have, for example, a lot of widgets that should be called once and not be changed in the future. Some widget, okay. Some widget, a lot of widgets, this column will be called here, and only it will be called only once and not be changed anymore in the future. That is why this widget that I'm clicking, it's changing to only the number, that some widget that are below, they are not changing. Okay, let me tell you another thing about you may, as I said previously, you may ask that why listenable builder and animated builder, they are doing the same thing, but as I said, that animated builder was intended only for animations, because in order to explain other developers whether animated builder is only for animations, they can use, you can say that the listenable builder, you can use listenable builder, but animated builder is only for animation. It was intended for them. That is why you can use both of them for animations, for change notifiers, but you have to write clean code to explain other developers whether you are using the specific thing. You're just a developer. That is why it's better to use. Okay, let me explain you why. You may ask why. Okay, let's first of all create a ChangeNotifier class, exactly same like this one. Change this simple value notifier. Let's create simple change notifier. Okay, simple change notifier, not value notifier, but change notifier. But the main reason that they are differs between each other, like a differences between them, is that simple change notifier with change notifier. Okay, the main reason is that simple value notifier, that it implements a value notifier and should have only one value to change, but change notifier can change several things. For example, you can copy this here, put here inside the change notifier, and the reason is that simple change notifier, it doesn't take anything inside here. It doesn't take anything inside. You can create your value here. Okay, you create your value here, and it will work exactly the same. Like let's change our code, put here. Okay, add Okay, let me explain. Value listenable builder only listens the value, something that has only one value to change, not change notifier. It only listens something that value change the value. So that is why if we go inside value listenable builder, we will see that it's not this listenable builder extension. It's not an animated widget. It's exactly another stateful widget that has its own implementation, like animated widget. It's simple, like exactly same like animated widget, but it does another thing. It listens value listenable, exactly same, but listens value listenable. If we go inside, listenable builder, it listens the listenable. Yes, doesn't matter what, listenable. But if we go inside value listenable, it listens only where is it? Okay, value listenable. It listens value listenable, which only one value. It listens only one value. And 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 as I said, it only listens the value listenable t. Mm-hmm. But value listenable builder, it shouldn't work here because we have to comment, and it will not work. Okay, if you go once again to change them, the reason why it's not working because we didn't put the notify listeners here. We have to put the notify listeners everywhere that value should be changed. Okay, you can see that it's changing. but let's go further, and I will tell you that listenable builder all listens every listenable things. Animated builder also listens any listenable thing, but value listenable listens only the listenable that has only one value to change. That is why excuse me, and there is a you know what I wanted to say. Okay, let me let me do this one. First, that is why you may ask, as I said, why it's not throwing an error, because listenable builder accept value listenable builder, animated builder, and thing accept value listenable. Other widgets listen listenables. Doesn't matter what kind of listenable is this. Like is it value listenable or just a change notified? Doesn't matter for them. That is why it's working exactly same as previous, as you see. Okay, and what I wanted to show you, for example, in a simple value notify, you have a lot of things to be changed inside your for example, you have a screen. As I said previously, you have for this change notifier, value notifier was intended only for simple app state management, not for like enterprises application, which is very big. And it was if you have something complicated to change, you have to use block. It's best result for state management, because block is like queue manager. I would say it solves the problem of race conditions and some kind of things. That is why you have to use block for the big application, not ChangeNotifier. I had a lot of experience. I had experience that I used ChangeNotifier for my big projects, and I will I can truly say that the thing that I've done, it's not the best idea to do. There is why, let me say you that, let me show you that you can create something for the screen that handles, that keeps, that holds a lot of value inside. Let's create some value, that some model, okay? Model, like it's better to name it simple state model, okay? And there is an extension in Android Studio, and it calls some, if I'm not doing mistakes, it generates the data classes. Just take a look, just search out whether, if you find them, you can find, because there is some, I don't remember. Let's take a look. There's settings, plugins, and there is a Dart data class, I guess it calls Dart data class, that helps to create this kind of data class section. For example, if you do this, it will create a code instead of you. That is why we have, first of all, we have an integer counter, okay? Or you have something else, value, something else. For example, you have a counter, you have another value that should be changed, even if it's like double or maybe string name, something like this one. Okay, then you have to create, as I said to you, something that converts it to the data classes with the fields, not data classes. It converts your data classes to, with this kind of operation, whether it checks its previous class or not. It adds copy with, which is a prototype pattern that helps to check that it creates the same simple state model. It's not the same, but with the values that it has. Okay, this one is not necessary for us. We'll remove it. And you can put this state model inside not integer that we created. You can create ValueNotifier here, as I said, yeah, which is not necessary. This is not necessary. It will not be necessary, but it's good. That's better to use the framework's ValueNotifier, and you can put simple state model here, and that's all. The main reason is that it's throwing error. In order to change that, you can do like counter plus plus, because the simple model should be immutable. It means that all the instances, all properties that inside this data class should be final. Like, okay, it initiated once and never again, like something like that. And whether you can change this counter. That is why we have to create a new value, like a new data classes, another data classes that has like the properties of the previous one. If you change something, if you want to change counter, you can write the counter value counter the previous one and plus one. Because of that counter previous value or maybe counter is nullable, you have to check that it's not nullable. That is why you can put something like this one, or you can do if value counter is null, put the first value should be the 1, something like that, but this is better. Okay, this is doing the increment, this is doing the decrement. Let's check. Okay, let's simple value notifier. As we changed it previously, it had only one value inside, but because of our model, we put our model inside here, it's throwing an error. Okay. Where's value? It's value, but we want to take not value, because if I change it, it will show not the counter, but the state model. The state model is right now it's working to string, because we are putting our state model inside string. That is why it's showing like a lot of this one. It's showing. You can put like you can now for the now you can remove this one. That's all. You can see that it's changing. Or just you can put just a counter maybe. You see that it's changing, but it's better to change the put here. But if suddenly you want to change the name of this notifier, for example, you can do change the name, change name, okay, and put the value, copy width, name is name. Don't think that when you are copying your previous value with new one, like using the prototype pattern, it's not burdensome, because Flutter itself under the hood, it creates, it changes a lot of objects, thousands of objects inside. That is why I don't think that it's bad to use. Let's go change the name. For example, go inside here, create a button, text button that change the name. Change the name. Simple, change the name. With name, you can use, or maybe the name. Okay, as you can see, there is a name is nullable, is null right now, but when I click this one, it changes the name, but the counter is previous one. You see that this, as I do this one 35, if I refresh the counter, you can see this counter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and value is null. Okay, but the main thing is this, that I have a video tutorial about inversion of control. Everything that should be injected with the something value. That is why we added simple state model. We can change here by our wish, like the first value is this one, the name should be no name, the first initializing, and the counter will be 1 the first time, the name no name. If I change this, it changes, the name also changes. Okay, but also you can do the exact same thing with here. You can, but the simple change notifier is doesn't take any value like previous one. You can add other values here, but it's not necessary. But in change notifier, you can have a lot of like state simple state model. First simple state model, okay, or you can have a lot of things like this one. That is why if you want to have a lot of this one, it's better to use simple change notifier, because when I do like something like this one, simple fire required first simple required simple second let's copy the function of this one here and put here. First one, it's the first one. We can remove this one, but it's not better. It's not the best idea to use like this one without making them final. Because it's not a good practice to do. Because yeah, it's not a good practice to do. And you can use them. It will work fine, but the properties of the should be final every time. That is why it's not a good idea to not just put them just without any final. But okay, let's go and change this one. That is why I'm saying that this kind of state management is very necessary. It's only needable for simple app management, like if you see simple apps that changes something. Okay, let's go do this one. First, what was the name of that one? First model. The second model should be exactly the same thing like this one, but no name, it's not no name. The second one, it will show the second one. Let's go inside and see that it's not working because of ChangeNotifier and notify listeners. It's working like every state model changing itself. This one is doing its own things. The second one also is doing the own things. You can see this one. Okay, what can I say? What else can I tell you? Okay, that was the all thing that I wanted to say you. In the future video tutorials, I'm gonna show you information about block, how it works, and it's best that why it is the best choice to use for step management. And I will tell about this block one, why about the qubit, why you don't have to use the qubit, and some kind of things about this one, and that's all.